Okay.
Okay, I have 4 o'clock. I'd like to call the Isabella County Board of Commissioners work session, electronic meeting on April 20th, 2021, 4 p.m. session to order. If we all may, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I believe we have Deputy Clerk Young here joining us today. So Deputy Clerk Young, a roll call, please.
Commissioner Hutchinson,
Present, reporting from my house or my home in Nottawa Township, Isabel County.
Commissioner Engler,
Here, and I am participating from my home from Deerfield Township, Isabella County, Michigan.
Commissioner Jelezinski,
Present, participating from my home in Chippewa Township, Isabella County, Michigan.
Commissioner Horton,
I am present. I am participating from my home in Union Township, Mount Pleasant, Michigan, Isabella County.
Commissioner Moreno,
Here, I'm participating from my home in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, Isabella County.
Commissioner Swaney,
Here, attending remotely from my home in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, Isabella County.
and Commissioner Hope.
Present and attending from my home in the city of Mount Pleasant, Isabella County.
All present, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Deputy Clerk Young. Next up, the approval of the agenda. We have general public comments. Under item 5, presentations and special reports, we have the Isabella County Administrator Controller report. Under item 6, appointments to boards and commissions, we have 1 to the Isabella County Jury Board. Under item 7, committee reports. First up, Finance and Administration Committee.
Finance and Administration is all set, Mr. Chairman.
Next up, under section B, Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee meeting.
Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee is all set, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We have no business under Human Resources and Public Works.
As a younger sibling, but he wasn't. If they had put someone on the stand who just couldn't keep.
I'm getting somebody in my background here, so I apologize for that. Under Human Resources and Public Works, we have no business. Under Intergovernmental Affairs, Vice Chairman Hope, do we have anything?
We do not.
Thank you. Next up, Administrator Controller, we have nothing. Under item 8, we have no unfinished business. Under item 9, nothing under new business. Under item 10, we're going to switch up a little bit after this because of some closed sessions. Under item 10, we'll have some general public comments. Item 11, announcements, and then 12 and 13, we have closed sessions. Under 12, we have closed sessions to discuss the purchase of real property. And under item number 13, we have going in to discuss collective bargaining agreement strategy. And then, of course, we have our adjournment. Also, too, under general public comments under both sections, I like to remind the public that they're limited to 3 minutes and you must give your name and address. Okay. After the agenda, can I get a motion and support for the approval of the agenda, please?
So moved, Marino.
Support Jelezinski.
We have a motion and support to approve the agenda. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. We have an agenda. Next up, general public comments. Nicole, do we have anybody from anybody on the line there?
We do not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I'll wait a few seconds and we'll move on. All right, I'll close the general public comment, move to section number 5, presentations and special reports. We have 1 item, Isabella County Administrator Controller Report, Margaret McAvoy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As opposed to, usually I have kind of a long laundry list of things that I report. I thought I would kind of keep it a little more concise and contained this evening or this afternoon. I want to talk to you somewhat about the multiple electronic meetings I've had regarding the American Rescue Plan Act. This is the biggest influx of support, financial support from the federal government, certainly I think in a generation's time, and probably in all of our time here serving in our capacity in the public. So we're still awaiting the guidance for the specifics from the United States Department of Treasury. It has been announced that the Department of Treasury has appointed a new director to a new office to solely work on the American Recovery Act Plan Act guidance and make sure that that gets out. At this point, we're awaiting that guidance. It will be coming, hopefully, a draft towards the end of April, perhaps the beginning or middle of May. The law that was signed into law by the president on March 11th does require that 50% of those finances and those funds be deposited within 60 days of that signing. So we are expecting that to happen for Isabella County's share of that, half of that, certainly by the middle of May sometime. You know, I recommend at this point that we take a very prudent and cautious approach. There's no reason to rush into a judgment of how we are going to spend those funds. Those funds do not need to be expended for a couple of years. So I think we need to be cautious. I will tell you, I've been on lots of phone calls, regional phone calls, talking with other administrators on MAC calls, been on some calls with the Intergovernmental Department at the White House, some calls with NACO. Perhaps some of you are listening into some of those calls too. And now the administrator controllers across the state are kind of starting to send emails back and forth, you know, which is great to have your colleagues. What are you doing? What are you doing? And I would say that probably about 95% of us are going, we're going to wait till we get some guidance. I can tell you, as someone who administered federal training programs, federal job training programs from Department of Labor, HUD, and other federal agencies, we want to be cautious. We want to certainly think outside the box. We want to use those monies to the best for our community and for our county. But we want to be cautious and make sure we're going to know what the guidance is before we spend a dime of that, because that's just So I want you to know that there are some discussions going on. We're awaiting the guidelines. I don't have any recommendations at this point. We've all probably read the same press releases and the same information from MAC of the 4 or 5 main areas that those funds can be spent on. Please remember, as you're thinking about this and talking with each other, maybe talking to colleagues in other counties, cities are receiving funds, counties are receiving funds, other entities are receiving funds. I've already talked to our 2 main colleagues, the city manager and Union Township manager, about let's have some chats to make sure that we're not overlapping anything and that we're, as possible, if we're talking about things outside of our own organizations, that we're collaborating on that. And we have a great relationship. This is what being at that, whatever the table is, I talk about all the time. Having us at the table is going to be important so that we can work together. So I just wanted to let you know, again, we're still waiting for specific guidance. I will say that I've heard the president say, and I've also heard the folks at the White House on a couple of these calls. I've been with the Intergovernmental Department about think outside your box. Think about what is really important for the community and also what's really important for our own county government. I do know the one guidance for CLEAR that I believe is in the act itself. These funds cannot be spent on funding pension plans from previous. So we just make sure that we know you have to park that idea. So it's going very well at this point. I'm feeling like I'm gathering a lot of information, and I'll be sharing it with you as soon as we can moving down the road. The other situation that's been ongoing, as we all know, is COVID. Not anything new to us. I'm sure none of us a year ago were on our first Zoom meeting and thought that we would still be dealing with the COVID situation in our community, our state, and our country. But as we all know, Michigan right now, unfortunately, is leading the pack, and now's a good time for us to remain cautious. We have had I believe you saw an email from me late last week about a couple upticks that we've had in our employee group. We're being very cautious, as we have been all along, and trying to provide all the support we can possibly provide, not only to our employees who have been ill or are ill, those who are having that experience in their families, and all of our employees who are, as I say all the time now, we're not going back to normal. Normal doesn't exist anymore. We're not going to go into this new normal. We're going into a new reality, and the workplace and our world is going to probably be changed forever. And some of that's for the good. So moving forward, we're trying to provide as much support to our employees as we move forward. I'm sure you're all seeing the flyers that we're sending out about assistance through our employee assistance programs and trying to help people deal with the stress and the strain of the last year and a half and as we're moving forward. So that's our top priority. So I want you to know that's an ongoing issue. I want to say it was yesterday, I believe that you probably received an email with the latest update to the plan that we have loaded up on our website, and we're required to keep that plan updated according to the directives from MyOSHA, and that's a good thing for us to do. Been working on the collective bargaining unit agreements along with the sheriff for the 3 units in his office. We're going to talk about one of those later, but we have moved on with the TAs for the other 2 units, and we're good. We're awaiting a draft of those contracts, so that's a good thing. We have a couple other units outstanding. We can talk about that later. And then, of course, lots of time, effort working on the sheriff's office and correctional facility project, and that is going well. So those would be the 4 highlights on top of meetings and other things that are going on and working on, some budget adjustments we'll be bringing to you and all those other things that are each and every day regular activities that I do. I just wanted to highlight those top 4 for you today.
Thank you, Administrator Controller McAvoy. Does anybody have any questions for Margaret McAvoy at all? All right, hearing and seeing none, we'll move down to the next item. Appointments to boards and commissions. Commissioner Hope, if you wouldn't mind just reading that, please. Tobin, you're muted.
Try this again. Consider appointing 1 member to the Isabella County Jury Board for a 6-year term ending April 30th, 2027, or until a successor is appointed.
All right, it looks like we only have 1 person, Michael A. Nelson. Does anybody know anything about Michael A. Nelson II?
I don't know Michael Nelson, but I see that he's been on the board before, and he's got a letter of recommendation from Judges Duthie and Spencer Noggle, which is impressive.
Yep, very good. All right, hearing nothing else, that will move forward to this evening. Next up, committee reports. First up, Finance and Administration Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 1, consider accepting and placing on file the April 1st, 2021 routine personnel items as presented. And basically it's just 3 step increases is all we have on this one. So unless there's questions, we'll move this forward to the consent agenda on tonight's program. Okay.
The next item is consider ratifying and placing on file the April 2nd, 2021 invoice list in the amount of $501,188.46. The April 9, 2021 invoice list in the amount of $494,868.65. And the adjustment list dated April 15, 2021. On the first invoice list dated April the 2nd, many customary payments. We have Raymond Robinson receiving payments 2nd and 3rd for the fiscal year 2020 audit. HATS is receiving their bi-weekly annual control contract payment amount, $5,961.54. Verizon Wireless, we're making payments just over $7,000 for monthly wireless charges for the various departments. JP Morgan Chase Bank is receiving close to $8,000 for monthly credit card charges, again, made by various departments. Central Square Technologies, this is something we approved just recently, and that's the computer aided dispatch mobile annual subscription fee for the software. Then we have 4 attorneys that are receiving payments for contractual public defender work. Rao Professional Services is receiving $10,850 for work done for remonumentation survey work in Denver and Sherman Townships, paid through the Register of Deeds office. Co-File Technologies receiving $5,147.42. It's the December County Fusion and Vanguard fees to the Register of Deeds office. Then we have the Principal Residence Exemption Unit. I think that must be with the state of Michigan. I'm not sure. But that unit's receiving $40,483.70. And that is related to a PA 105 denial interest authorized by the Treasurer's Office. Then we have 4 school districts in the county that are receiving various amounts for PA 105 denials for the school portion, again, from the Treasurer's Office. Any questions related to that list? All right, we'll move on to the April 9th list. State of Michigan's receiving 2 checks. The first one is $6,237, and that's the transmittal of the March pistol permit fees. The second one is $14,778.56, and that's for transmittal of the March circuit court fees. Isabella Bank is receiving 3 payments ranging from $48,036.38 to a high of $151,020. And those are all related to debt payments, all 3 of those checks for the drain office. Secure Alarm Systems, $7,749. That's the third quarter building security maintenance contract paid through Information Systems Department. Right Express, that's a commercial fueling depot, almost $6,000, and that's the March credit card charges for gasoline refueling for the Sheriff's Department vehicles. Excuse me. Reading off those big numbers brings a horse in my throat. Makes me a little bit nervous. The WellPath LLC is receiving $34,556.33. Those are the March medical services contract for the care of the inmates in the Sheriff's Department. Chippewa River District Library is receiving $30,218.68. And those are the quarterly penal fees distribution in the Treasurer's Office. State of Michigan is getting a 3rd check, and that's $40,307.09. And that is the transmittal of March district and probate court fees. And then the last 3 are Highfields Incorporated, $6,477.76. Wolverine Human Services, $9,945.73. And Jackson County Youth Service, $5,580. And all those are related to youth services provided by those entities as required by the courts and comes with payments to the Child Care Fund. And I noted that each one of those costs is for 1 youth. So it's a costly situation when we need to put a child in care outside the house. Any questions on that list? We'll move on to the transmittal then. The transmittal list for the April 2nd, all of them are related to additional payments, either for early payment discount to Gordon Food, the Sheriff's Department, I think on all 3 of those. It's for City of Mount Pleasant, invoice added so to avoid late fees. And same thing with DirecTV and DTE Energy. Additional check was added to make the payments to avoid late fees. On the April 9th list, we again have 3 Gordon Food Service, and all again, their Sheriff's Department, early payments, checks added for early payment of purchase of food items for the Sheriff's Department. And you get a, with the early payment discount on all of the Gordon Food Service fees. There is a Leanne and Stefan Hockard, a manual check for bond refund was added, $100,000 to the clerk's office. And Priscilla White is the last one, $377.32. That was just a minor due to a mileage miscalculation. Any question on any of the invoice lists or the adjustment sheet? Then we'll move this forward to tonight's meeting.
Okay, which brings us to item number 3, which is consider entering into an agreement with ID Networks Incorporated for the purchase of the Guardian Live Scan system in the amount of $7,585 and approve the budget amendment transferring $7,585 from account number 263.000.390.000 to account number 263.215.978.000 and authorize the board chair to sign the same. And I think Administrator McAvoy is prepared to walk us through this one, correct?
You're muted, Margaret.
You're muted though.
You're muted.
So sorry, thank you. I'm going to start the walk and then I'm sure the sheriff will jump in and take us over the finish line. So Clerk Lux apologized for not being able to attend the meeting this evening due to a family medical situation. I told her I thought that the sheriff and I could carry this forward. This went to the Finance Committee last week and unanimous motion to move it forward. So currently all of the fingerprinting, which is done at the sheriff's office, includes not only the criminal fingerprinting and the court required fingerprinting and those types of things, but also the fingerprinting for CPL applicants, for teachers, for the clergy, for the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, any other private nonprofit, any youth associated services where you're required to be fingerprinted. And over a course of time, how things have changed, and I'll let the sheriff talk about the sheriff's office in more depth, but they're getting slammed over there with all of these fingerprints and all of the requirements and the additional requirements of what the sheriff's office has to do, in addition to what they have done in the past as far as the CPL prints and others. So frankly, when somebody comes to fill in a CPL application, they do come to the clerk's office to fill that out. Now they're asked to go across and go back out and go to the sheriff's office and get fingerprinted and all of that. So this would allow a one-stop shop for folks who are coming in to apply for their CPL, number one. Number two, it would also take all of the other folks in the community who have to be fingerprinted, but are not doing so for any type of a criminal or potential criminal situation, out of the sheriff's office over to the county building. The CPL fund will pay for this. It will not be a general fund cost. The clerk's office has the funds to pay for this. The fund balance as of when Mindy and I worked on the staff report, which was a couple weeks ago, was $89,000, and it could be even, oh, sorry, my phone's buzzing. It could be even higher than that now, a little bit. So she certainly has the revenues in her fund balance of the CPL, which is a separate fund to pay for this. Kind of a sidebar, she and I and Steve Shoemaker, the facilities director, spent a very short period of time in her office last week together looking at a spot and decided here's a great spot. It would not be the regular door that the staff come in and out. It would be another door in her office. So we can kind of hang plastic and quadrant it off. It's a great spot right when you go in. If you've ever done any genealogy search in the clerk's office, you would recognize that little corner would be the same corner. So I think this is a great thing for the public. It's a one-stop shop for those who are coming to the building for their CPL. I think it's a comfortable spot for the other folks in our community that need to come to be fingerprinted. It's an allowable cost with the CPL fund, and it will alleviate some of the extra burden on the sheriff. So I certainly support this. I worked with Mindy on the staff report and some other things. So I support it, and I'd like to turn it over to the sheriff because I think that he would like to make some comments if that's okay with the board.
Commissioner Marino, I seen your hand up there. Did you have a question for Margaret before we move on?
Yeah, isn't it true that the folks who will be getting fingerprinted at the clerks will have to pay a fee?
So that is correct, but they have to pay a fee.
That is correct.
No. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go
Great.
ahead.
I can hardly hear you, Sheriff.
You can't hear me at all?
Now we can.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So there is a fee to pay. We don't make a whole lot off it at the county level, but that fee is a requirement at the state level that we have to charge. So that fee will have to continue at the clerk's office. So what happened on our end, it's kind of the trifecta or the perfect storm between COVID and a lot of other things in our country right now. As of the end of March, we've done almost over 300 gun permits. It takes 15 to 20 minutes to do each time. So we tried to start scheduling those in so we didn't have a lot of people in our lobby, for the whole COVID issue. Recently, the criminal justice changes that have been implemented. We're anticipating that, and that's just the CPL stuff. And then we have the teachers and we have the criminal prints. So with the changes that have just come in, we're anticipating that our criminal prints are going to go right through the roof. We're going to have a whole lot more coming in the way this is set up. We were looking at the point where we were going to have to start staffing some overtime or change shifts or something for the weekend just to keep up with the requirements. So this comes at a perfect time for us at the sheriff's office with Mindy's office wanting to take this on. I'm 100% behind it because we are kind of in overload mode and it's too much to handle this point without creating some overtime and some costs on our end. So I'm 100% behind this.
For the CPL's end of this, the fees will be $15, Commissioner Moreno. So the fees will be $15. If it's a print for the CPL, that'll go into the CPL fund. If it's not, if it's the teachers, the clergy, the community folks, whatever, that will go into the general fund. So both of those fees will be determined where they are, assigned based on what the purpose of the prints are.
Thank you.
Yeah, Commissioner Engler?
Yeah, just one quick question on the people who have access to this. It says the teachers and clergy. Is that for any employer in the county can take advantage of that, or does it meet certain requirements?
So
I don't think there's certain requirements. I'm sorry, Sheriff, would you answer that, please?
yeah, so there are dozens of different types of prints that can be done. We don't even do all of the prints in our office. Some of them we have to send to the UPS store that does. So it really depends on. I think the clerk's office was looking at CPLs, teachers, and just a handful because it really is. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of time. So they don't want to get too overloaded either. But if they find themselves in a position where they add modules, that's just each one of them has a different form that you have to learn. So it's just not all one size fits all. So you're correct, but I don't think they want to do all of them.
Commissioner Horton.
Two quick, one comment, one question. I believe in the committee, it was discussed too that say, for instance, the sheriff's fingerprint system went down, it would also offer an opportunity for the clerk's office to provide the sheriff's office with their fingerprinting system until it gets back up and running. My question to the sheriff is if you anticipate a significant more, an influx, would it be behoovant to possibly look into purchasing another fingerprint machine?
We can. It's the personnel factor that we trained on. And I think once we divide and conquer this project, I think we'll be fine. I don't think we'll have to go into this weekend or this extra time. I think we'll be able to hold our own. We were doing okay. It was very steady, but with the changes and the potential that we're going to see, I think that would have been too much. The other thing is, I think Margaret had mentioned it that it's a one-stop shop at the clerk's office, and we got to think here in the future, and then hopefully in the very near future, that's get in your car, drive someplace else to get it done, where they can just get that non-criminal civil stuff all taken care of in one spot. So,
thank you.
Mr. Jelezinski.
I just had a thought. I certainly not an expert on the COVID funding that's coming to the county, to the sheriff's department, or to the courts, or what have you. But I know there are dollars that can be used for equipment, supplies, for protection. I didn't know if an argument could be made that because the sheriff's department has a incarcerated population, that this might fit into one of the categories of funds that we receive to have payment made through those source of funds? Do you follow?
Well,
my
I think the issue is that that's an interesting suggestion. We don't have the guidance for sure. Yeah, we haven't got the guidance at all yet. We just have kind of the general parameters, and we do have the funds in the CPL fund. And I know that Mindy feels, or I'm sorry, Clerk Lux feels that they're prepared to do this project now to get some of the lifting off the sheriff's office. She's not going to increase any staffing to do this. She has the funds set aside. This is an approved purchase with those funds from the state. So I think we would like to move forward.
I can add too. I think I probably recall, I don't know if it's on here or not. It might be, I'm trying to look at the memo right now. I believe I read somewhere that the fees will pay itself. This machine will be paid back very shortly. Can't remember if I read that, if I've read that in an email or on a memo. But I think that the cost of the machine while it's being taken out of the fund will also be paid back by the fee. So yes, it's, you can say the fees would be going into the general fund, but it is, like I said, it's a shifting of one county department to another, two elected officials talking amongst themselves and solving a problem and working together, which I think is always important.
The additional fees would come from other people in the community, teachers and whatnot, and need to get fingerprinted that would then pay the $15 fee that would go to the general fund rather than the CPL folks.
Yes, that's
Right.
my understanding. Yes.
Okay. Certainly there's a need for this, and that need will only get greater, and it'll be nice to have a backup system and the payment kind of network. So any other questions? Okay, hearing and seeing none, then this item will move forward to tonight's agenda.
Our next item, consider approving the 2021 equalization report on the STC Form L4024 as presented by the Equalization Department and required by state statute, and authorize the chairperson of the county board and the county clerk to sign the same, and directed to be filed with the county clerk's office and with the state tax commission in a timely manner. Well, I did receive the new 18 pages today. Thank you, Pete. I'm glad you're a figures guy. I haven't had a chance to look through it all, but I do see the bottom line seems to be very favorable for the county. But at this point, I'll let you comment on your report.
The bottom line does look relatively nice. Thank you all and good evening, and my apologies for the lateness of some of this material. This is the end of our equalization season, and it has been an interesting cycle or season. Many of the board of reviews did have some difficulty meeting, did have difficulty compiling information at the end. Judy has done a phenomenal job of putting together the background for those final numbers. I'm in the catbird seat where I get to just read the final number, but Judy put a lot of work and a lot of effort in on this, and apologies for the phone. There, we took care of that. Sorry. Back to what I was saying. Just hang up. I can't have it be an angry phone call, you folks over here. Anyways, back to it. So Judy's done a wonderful job putting this together. The first 5 pages that you see here are the recommended motion, the staff report, and the 4024. These are things that the board chair, as well as the clerk and Scott Cunningham, our equalization director, will sign. When we go to pages 6 through 11, I don't know if you want me to share my screen right now, if that'd be more helpful.
Please do.
Okay. Okay. Can we all see the screen now?
Not yet.
See it, fine.
Okay, great. If I can find my scroll bar here. Okay, the first, again, first 5 pages are the standard documents that are submitted to the state and such. And then from there, when we get to
Pete, Jim Horton here. Is
Yeah.
anybody else? I'm not seeing a screen. Is anybody else seeing it?
I
Yes.
see it.
Okay, if you guys see it, I've got the
See it.
paperwork, so just continue on. I'm not seeing it, but go ahead because
Okay.
I've got paperwork here, so just go ahead.
Okay, page 6 to 11 breaks down each township. It kind of gives everyone an idea of what their individual townships contribute to the overall valuation of the county. So you see here, Chippewa represents 4.88% of the township's SEV. Co represents 7.76. It just gives you a good idea of where the values are in the township. When we put this together, we feel it's a good tool for the local townships to see where they're at and for the commissioners to see as well. So I'm going to skip through here real quick and go to page 12. This is where we get to the numbers, the bottom line numbers. Down here on the lower right-hand side, you'll see that the county experienced increase in its assessed value, or its half of market value consideration of $184,374,000, an increase of 7.18%. You folks now have a valuation in the county, assessed valuation of almost $2.75 billion. So that would essentially say there's $5.5 billion worth of value in Isabella County. So that 7.18% is, from what we've seen in other communities, is on the upper side of that. And primarily that's due to a lot of the wind turbine development and such. So, but we're seeing anywhere from 4 to 5%. What's very interesting in Isabella County is that when we get to the taxable value side, and I'm going to go to page 15 here. And in this midway right-hand corner is the county taxable value increase. And again, this is on page 15. This right here has a $188 million of taxable value that the county has surpassed here. That means the overall valuation of the county for taxable values for what you're applying your millage to is over $2 billion now, $2.1 billion in taxable value. In the very bottom here, and I'll zoom in some more, is the anticipated revenues. And as you recall at the previous, those that were at the finance meeting, we did have a township that we had to factor. That's when they do not come into ratio with what we produced out of our study. That was a very slight factor, and it only affected one property, to where we're essentially saying to the community, we're going to raise or increase to make sure you're in ratio. But to the taxable value difference, it appears that the county's going to get an operating millage increase in actual taxes revenue increase for your operating millage of $1 million. So we are running the preliminary Headley right now, and it does not look like that the county is going to experience a Headley rollback. So this number is fairly solid. Absent poverty exemptions or veterans exemptions or other items that may affect taxable value. But the Headley would have been the bigger issue because it would have rolled back your millage, and you would have less millage to apply against the new taxable value. And of that $1 million increase, approximately 3/4 of that is due to the single wind turbine type development, not the single one, but the class of property. And that would be coming from both Co and from the northern tier there. That northern tier of wind turbines were brought in at 50% because of the construction. So that's all I have, unless you have any other items you'd like me to address or comment on.
Questions for Pete?
No, the only thing I have to say is I can see about 6 faces on my right-hand screen here, is that's good news. And I think one of the things the comments in the Finance Administration Committee were mine, is that this is a big component when Pete mentioned the turbines to the north. That's a big component of our upcoming funding to build the upcoming jail. And I told Pete he's going to be relied upon, or I'm going to not put him on the spot, but I'm going to call upon him for his expertise. And I see Steve Kernovic muted and not faced out, so that's a good thing. But both of those two together, I'm going to call upon and ask for their expertise as we go forward, because this is a big deal. I mean, one of the things I think Commissioner Jelezinski was right to point out in the past, that the co-township turbines, I think we've kind of incorporated or rolled into our budget, but the northern turbines, we really haven't touched, and I don't think we should touch them. And at 50% only, as everyone knows, there's going to be an appreciation or depreciation factor going down to 30. But if they're at 50% now, my understanding is when they become fully operational, that goes at 100%, and then the depreciation factor starts. Is that a correct statement, Mr. Preston?
Yes, there is a depreciation factor after the first year.
Okay. So right now we're only at 50%. So we're not at the first year of the 100%. Is that correct?
Right. Right now, their personal property statements would reflect 50% of new construction value.
Okay, that's good. Again, the commissioners, you've heard me state many times, and this is very preliminary, but that's something we're going to have to look forward. Not something we're going to have to address down the road, is how these funds are going to be committed and put into the budget. So again, this year and next, I think that's when we're going to have to make the determination and try to set the pathway for future boards. So that's all I have to say about that. And thank you again. I know I try to put you on the spot at the administration, finance administration. We're very good at getting around me a little bit, but we're not done yet. I'm not done yet with you, but it's all positive. It's nothing negative. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. You've certainly earned your fee for this quarter.
I love
contract
reporting
fee.
the information. No, and again, hats off to Judy, and so much of this heavy lifting, takes place in the office. And I get to come up here and report the good news. I'll have someone else report the bad news when it comes about.
Any other questions or comments on the report? Then we'll move this to tonight's meeting.
Okay, item number 5 is consider adopting the Isabella County fiscal year 2022 budget calendar as presented. So you've all seen the calendar, I'm sure. A couple new items on their July 13th first draft to Finance Committee and August 10th second draft of Finance Committee. We've actually been doing that the last couple of years, actually kind of committing that to paper now, but that's been the practice. And then August 31st, that third draft to Finance Committee. September 3rd, the recommended budget to elected appointed officials and department heads. September 7th, recommended budget presented to board at work session. And September 21st, public hearing. Administrator McAvoy, do you want to add anything to that, or?
Muted, Margaret.
I'm sorry, I keep muting myself because I have this little tickle in my throat, so I don't want to be coughing during the meeting. I apologize. Commissioner Hope, you are spot on. You've got all the highlights and all of the additions. We have had these first draft and second draft to the Finance Committee in our internal budget the last few years, but I wanted to memorialize it and put it out there that's when we will be presenting drafts to the Finance Committee. And other than that, the schedule works well for us. I'm always happy at the end of September 21st, but it starts, actually, we have started internal meetings in my department, in my office. We started meeting in March. I think the audit came to you like 1 week, and by the end of that week, we were having our little meetings in my office. So this is a great schedule. We will meet it, and we would like to, please.
It's a huge process. Probably the most important thing we do here. And I would encourage the other commissioners to sit in on those first draft committee presentations. kind of keep those dates in mind, that July 13th and August 10th and August 31st. Any questions, comments? Okay, hearing and seeing none, then this item will move forward to tonight's agenda. And Mr. Chairman, that completes the work of the Finance and Administration Committee.
Thank you, gentlemen. Next up, Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our first item is consider approving the fiscal year 2022 Community Corrections Application and Plan in the amount of $74,895. And we have a Court Administrator Carrie Curtis here to describe the Community Corrections Program that we're applying funds for again this year.
Good afternoon. So we're back again. This is some of the same things that you have seen in prior years. I've decided to try to implement some changes after some careful consideration, looking at the numbers, talking to the advisory board, and working with our specialist at the state level. So the biggest change that we are asking to make is to change how group programming is done. Currently, we have a vendor that we pay to operate this program. We want to go back to a more basic program that is off the shelf. It's used by many other counties. The big benefit for this program is that it will save a lot of dollars while still providing some quality program to our offenders. It will also give us additional flexibility in scheduling and the number of sessions and how that all works. We intend to use a staff member from the court to teach that curriculum. So that'll be somebody who's also, or who's already on board here. So that will be helpful as well. The savings we want to divert to more pretrial services, because everybody is well aware that, you know, jail diversion and pretrial services are the hot things right now. So if we can provide more of those services, keeping the community safe and increasing appearance rates for our offenders, that will go right in line with all of the new legislation. So we're looking forward to hopefully being able to implement more of that. We intend to continue our interlock program, which provides drug court participants with the interlock device. We cover the cost of that for 90 days now. We'd like to up that to 120 days. This just reduces barriers for our offenders so they can get their license back sooner, improve their employment, they can attend their family functions, they can attend their court hearings, even though most of those are virtual, but counseling sessions, all of those kinds of things. So that's it in a nutshell. It's almost the same amount as last year that we requested. So we just sort of rearranged those funds. We did make a lot of improvements to our application this year in hopes that we'll be able to get closer to the award amount that we're asking for versus, you know, the amount we have now is $57,100. And if we do receive the same amount, we can operate the program. We just will probably be less offenders that way.
Court Administrator Curtis, do you believe that since there's a big push in these corrections programs to help, you know, offenders get to court and make sure they're doing all the things they need to do and support them, that we're more likely to get full funding this year?
Well, we were told that there are more courts asking and more counties asking for funding. And as always, the pot of money did not get any bigger. We'll be able to do it. We do have access to some COVID funds that will help, but we all know those are going to run out. So we very optimistic.
Are there any questions for Court Administrator Curtis? All right, seeing none, we'll bring this forward to the regular session tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Yeah, item number 2 is consider submitting the compliance plan and cost analysis to the Michigan Indigent Defense Commission, the MIDC, for fiscal year 2022 in the amount of $1,577,641.66, with the state contribution being $1,341,535.09, and the local share being $236,106.57. This is, we started the public defender's office, and this is all part of it. I will let Administrator McAvoy go into any details. So far, everything's fairly well on track. A little bit reduction in the percentages, but I'll let the administrator talk about that.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm actually going to turn the presentation over to Tom Hausman, our public defender. Originally, he was to be in court at our committee meeting, and I think he actually ended up being able to step in then too. So if you don't mind, Commissioner, I'd like to turn it over to Tom.
Nope, I didn't even see him sneak in there, so.
I know, he's like that sometimes. Go ahead, Mr. Hausman.
Good afternoon. Well, for those of you that remember, last year when I made this presentation was the day of the Midland flood. So in the start of my presentation, all these alarms were going off telling me to evacuate. So I'm happy to note that that is not going to happen today. Yes, this is for consideration to apply for the fiscal year 2022 MIDC grant. As Commissioner Engler noted, it is a slight decrease, the biggest coming from the local share. The percentage that is calculated last year was based on a 2019 baseline number, and then it was 2.1%. This year that has decreased to 1.2%, essentially changing our local share by approximately a reduction of approximately $23,000. There is one noted change to the dollar amounts that are included in the staff report in the packet, and that is an increase in the SATO membership fee. I believe in the packet that's submitted, it's the $40 per attorney. We were notified through MIDC that increased to $75 per attorney. So not a big change, but that is different from what was submitted last week. We were informed later on in the week that number had been adjusted going forward. But essentially, we've been able to, surprisingly over the course of the past year, we've been able to become fully staffed. We're fully staffed with attorneys. We're now hitting our 75-25 percentage split between the public defender's office and the MAC or contract attorneys. It's been a busy year, and we've completely been able to, in the midst of a pandemic, fully staff our office, and I think we're drastically improving the level of indigent defense that's been provided to the county and to individuals that severely need it in our community. So we'd ask the board to consider allowing us to submit for the fiscal year 2022 MIDC grant.
Is there any question for the public defender Hausman? I would like to say though that we just got started with this program, and then we have the COVID in there, so we're still trying to understand the system and making sure all the requirements are met and everything. So far, we really haven't hit a normal yet as far as this new program in your office. And I think you've done a tremendous job in trying to keep the ship upright with all the changes in the new environment that we've been in. So I commend you for that.
Thank you.
Is there any questions?
Engler?
Yeah.
Not
Yes,
a question,
Commissioner
but
Holt.
not a question, but just a comment, Mr. Hausman. I think I heard the analogy somewhere that you took the puck and skated with it. So good job, sir.
He is doing a great job.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, Mr. Commissioner Jelezinski.
Sounds like an inside joke to me, but I have a question for Margaret. because I know Margaret serves on the Indigent Defendant Commission. Is the state still very enthusiastic to support the program in its full amount? And what about the new standards that are still being reviewed? Is that going to cause any concerns in our program?
Well, actually, we had a commission meeting today, this morning, actually. So I had a great honor and was asked a few weeks ago to testify in front of the State Senate Committee on Appropriations on behalf of counties regarding MIDC funding. And I did so electronically, of course, but it was a great honor to do that. And, you know, I will say this, Commissioner, the increase this year over last year was more than I would have anticipated. There was an additional standard initiated this year, but the amount that came from the state, and I just can't remember off the top of my head, it was staggering. What do you remember, Tom? Is it like 15 million, 18 million?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Between
18 million. Yeah, I think it was 18 million over last year. And, you know, standard, so now some of the standards are still out for discussion and Laura hasn't initiated them. The current standard that's being initiated this year or enacted this year is the standard to have the judiciary kind of exempt from the appointments, for lack of a better term, kind of a common folks who didn't go to law school, didn't listen to our moms and go to law school like me. So that's we're far ahead of that. Again, I like the term of took the puck and skated with it, but we're already ahead of that. Our judiciary isn't making those appointments. So for us, I don't think it's going to be much of a bar for us to climb because we're already on the other side. And that again is, you know, to the leadership of both the courts and Tom. So I think that looking at moving forward in the budget year for next year, you know, Commissioner, it's always hard to kind of say what the legislation will do, but they certainly seem to be supportive of MIDC. And, you know, we're all instituting the legislation. So the practitioners didn't come up with how we were going to do it. The legislation did. So we're encouraged. I have not heard any major rumblings that we should be concerned about funding.
Thank you. I know my personal feeling is that this went much better than I thought it would go. And I think we're an excellent program. And again, that's Tom and his staff. And I'm glad to hear that we're at full capacity now with the attorney. Thank you.
Yes, Chairman Horton.
Mr. Hausman, getting back to is the court, I don't believe the court has set a standard, but what is the usual standard or what are you seeing for the determination of what actually is determined to be indigent as far as a definition goes? How is that determined? Does the judge set it? Do you guys, I can't remember. I think I did ask you in the committee meeting, if you could just elaborate on that, maybe just a little bit.
Sure. So just to kind of describe our general process is when we meet with someone prior to their first appearance in court, we go over, you know, what their charges are, the possible penalties, everything like that. And then we discuss with them their right to have an attorney not only represent them at that first appearance, but throughout the pendency of their case as well. One of the future standards that Ms. McAvoy alluded to is vertical representation, ensuring that someone has that same attorney throughout the whole part of their case. That's always been something that we've done. So that's, again, one of those future standards that is not going to be a concern for us going forward. We're already in compliance with that. But we do go over their right to have a court-appointed attorney if they qualify. And so what happens is an attorney from our staff will meet with them, go over the request for a court-appointed attorney, which is a form from the SCAO that our court utilizes. We'll go over that information. We'll submit that form to the court after the hearing. The court uses the federal poverty guidelines to determine whether or not someone qualifies, and what that determines is their indigency. So things that go into it are number of dependents, what their take-home pay is, any monthly obligations such as mortgage, rent, utilities, anything like that, and then any other sources of income. and they have to fall below a certain threshold on the federal poverty guidelines to determine whether or not they qualify. So usually one of the judges will review their form, sign it, either approve it or disapprove it, send it back to our office. Obviously, if it's approved, they get appointed, court-appointed attorney. If it's disapproved, we do take the further step in contacting that individual to let them know that they have been denied a court-appointed attorney, and that they have to, go out and retain an attorney. But we do take that further step in order to inform them of the judge's decision that they did not qualify.
Usually, though, that's you at least at the first arraignment. Is that a correct statement then?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a very long-winded answer to your question, but that's
no. That's I think in the last couple of years, I know the former chairperson George Green was always going, "How do you define indigent? And how is this done and that done?" So again, it's you never want to be in that situation, but I think Isabella County is certainly providing a good public defender's office, and your office is doing a wonderful job. So congratulations to you on that.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any more questions? Seeing none, move this forward to tonight's board meeting. And with that completes the work of the Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committees, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Next up, Human Resources and Public Works Committee. We have no business under that. So we move to Intergovernmental Affairs, but there's no business. Nothing under Administrator Controller Reports. Moves us into section number 8, unfinished business, but there is none. Under 9, no new business. Next brings us to general public comments. Nicole, is there anybody under general public comment?
There is no one for general public comment at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I'll wait just a few more seconds. Okay, I'll close general public comments and move on to item number 11, announcements. Commissioners, any announcements? Yes, Commissioner Jelazinski.
Well, I'm happy to report that the Shepherd is going to have the Maple Syrup Festival. It's kind of an abridged festival from in the past, but you can still get 3 squares a day of sausage and pancakes. And there's going to be a lot of other events still occurring. But I want to focus on one event. I am the financial secretary of the Shepherd Knights of Columbus. We will be having our garage sale at the St. Vincent de Paul Parish Hall and invite you to come in. I want to guarantee that we cheat the other guy and pass the savings on to you. So if you have to be in Shepherd, come see me and I'll make sure we do you a real special deal.
Okay, and anybody else? Just real quick, I'd like to touch on Commissioner Moreno and I had the opportunity to go to the Farm Bureau breakfast last week, and that was real informative. Congressman Molinar spoke and gave what was going on in Washington, D.C., and Commissioner Moreno and I were asked a couple questions, pretty generalized in regards to what's going on in the county. Again, we've had an uptick in COVID in our community. So again, as I always like to say, be respectful of other people, put your mask on, maintain social distances, and practice good hygiene. So anybody else before we move into our closed sessions? And also for our closed sessions, if we could, I'd like to invite Sheriff Maine to both of the closed sessions, please. Okay, I don't think we have to, do we have to have a motion, or Margaret, we just go into them on this?
So move to go into closed session to deal with a real property purchase.
Support, Swaney.
All right, we have a motion and support to go into closed session to consider the purchase of real property. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none, can I get a Deputy Clerk Young a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Swaney,
Yes.
Commissioner Holt,
Yes.
Commissioner Engler,
Yes.
Commissioner Jelazinski,
Yes.
Commissioner Hutchinson,
Yes.
Commissioner Moreno,
Yes.
Commissioner Horton.
Yes.
Whole number of votes cast was 7. The ayes received 7 and the nays received 0. Motion carried.
Okay, we will now move into closed session. We'll follow our examples here. Okay, we're back in the open session and I have 5:30. And with that, I think we decided last time that I can adjourn without a motion. So I'm going to this time adjourn this without a motion. So at 5:30, the
sir.
call of the
No,
chair.
no,
we are-
Mr.
we
Chair.
are- No, we cannot.
We have
There's a
things to do.
second, there's a
No,
second
wait,
closed
no,
session.
we got another closed session. I am so sorry. I got focused on one,
That's okay.
not about the other. I do apologize.
I know.
Darn it. Okay, all
I
right.
know.
Can I get a motion and support to go into closed session again, please?
So move Jelazinski to discuss collective bargaining strategy agreement.
Support Marino.
We got a motion and support to go into closed session. Roll call vote, please, Deputy Clerk Young.
Commissioner Hutchinson,
Yes.
Commissioner Marino,
Yes.
Commissioner Sweeney,
Yes.
Commissioner Hope,
Yes.
Commissioner Engler,
Yes.
Commissioner Jelazinski,
Yes.
Commissioner Horton.
Yes.
Poll number of votes cast is 7. The ayes receive 7. The nays receive 0. Motion carried.
All right, as usual, I'd like to invite the sheriff too, so thank you.
Okay, good.
Okay. We are now back into open session, and since I've already done this once by mistake, I'll get this right this time. And at the motion of at the adjournment call of the chair at 5:52 p.m., we are adjourned. Thank you all. See you at 7.